learners, welcome to the 6 weeks of our MOOCs course, Philosophical Foundations of Education. In this video, we will discuss about pragmatism. So, our discussion topic will be understanding pragmatism. You have already studied about idealism, naturalism. Idealism, which was totally focused on spirituality, and on the other hand, naturalism philosophy has its focus on nature. Now, we have another philosophical thought which is known as pragmatism. This is Western philosophy, and pragmatism is basically an American philosophy. It was introduced by American philosophers. The chief exponents of pragmatism are William James, John Dewey, and S. Kilpatrick. The word pragmatism has been derived from the Greek words pragma and pragmatikos. When we are discussing about any kind of philosophical thought, we should know the origin. Therefore, if we see the origin derivation of pragmatic philosophy, the pragma means action, active, and efficient. On the other hand, the word pragmatikos, it means utility or practicability. Therefore, pragmatism as a school of philosophy is based on action or experimentation, and criteria of an action or experimentation is its utility. After spirituality, after nature, now we have a discussion on practicability or experimentation in this philosophy. Technically, pragmatism is a philosophy in which activity or experiment is done first, and on the basis of its result, idea or principle is formed. Therefore, this philosophy is also known as experimentalism. Because it's based on the experiment or exploration. If after experiment, if it is proved as right, then on the basis of that, some ideas or some perspectives are framed. As a philosophy, pragmatism has a long history. The pragmatic ideals were found in the writings of Protagoras, an ancient philosopher, and Protagoras said, "Man is the measure of all things." In this regard, William James also opined that pragmatism is a temper of mind and attitude. It is also a theory of the nature of ideals and truth, and finally it is theory about reality. In the words of John Dewey also has explained his views that values are as unstable as the forms of clouds. They keep on changing from time to time, and reality is still in the process of making. Ideal ends are remote by connected with immediate and urgent conditions. In this way, pragmatism as a school of philosophy believes in practical and utilitarian philosophy. Pragmatism is a philosophical tradition that emphasizes the practical application of ideas and their effects on human experience as the central criteria for determining their truth, meaning, or value. It originated in the late 19th century and became influential thought thinkers such as Sir Sanders Peirce and William James and John Dewey. So, I hope you have made a understanding about what is pragmatic philosophy. Mainly, it is called as experimentalism because everything that pragmatic philosophy has explained on the basis of the experiment. Now, for your better understanding, I'll explain some principles of pragmatism. The philosophy of pragmatism believes some fundamental facts, and I'll explain in front of you for your better understanding. Number 1, changing nature of truth. What is changing nature of truth according to pragmatic principle? According to this philosophy, truth, reality, goodness or beauty are all relative terms. These concepts are not predetermined or absolute. They change with the change in person, place, time or circumstances. That is to say, truths are many and they are all in the making to reach the ultimate truth. What is true today may not necessarily be true or good to others and so on. Truth is actually that which can be experimented or verified by human activity. Thus, change is an important characteristic of this philosophy. Change is inevitable and therefore it is the important characteristics of pragmatic philosophy. Then number 2, the another principle we may mention here that useful result is the criteria of truth. If truth is considered fixed and certain, it will hamper the progress of the world according to the pragmatism. It is the change that will lead to progress. Progress is after all a value word and values are instrumental. Number 3, which is mentioned here as the principle of pragmatism, is that the solution of the problem is the criteria of truth. Human life is full of problems. It is natural. So, experiments are carried out to solve all these problems that we are facing in our day-to-day life. The success of these experiments bring us to the point of truth. In short, truth is that which solves the problems of life. This is explained by the philosophy of pragmatism while it is saying about or discussing about what is truth, what is right. Number 4, knowledge is the result of action. So what is knowledge according to pragmatic philosophy? Knowledge is something which is sought out in action, that is, ideas are born out of activities. Man learns various activities that he is engaged in his long part of life. So, after every activity, after every experiences, what we gain knowledge. This is that is why pragmatism has said that knowledge is the result of action. Number 5, social rather individual values. Man is a social animal. He is born in a society, lives there and dies in a particular society. It's natural. So, his existence without society is nothing. A man's existence without society is meaningless. Social values and ideals are important instead of individual ones, and social values are nothing but democratic values. These values are freedom, equality, tolerance, responsibility and justice. So these are some of the values that has been explained by the pragmatism philosophy. Next one, utility of ideas. Reality of an idea or principle lies in the utility or usefulness. Any idea or principles which is useful us is proper and right, otherwise it's wrong. It means if anything is useful for any purpose for us, this is right, or if it is unnecessary thing, then it's wrong according to pragmatic philosophy. Thus this philosophy is very much subjective, because an idea or thing which is useful for one may not be useful for others. Anything, any ideas, anything in the world which may be useful for me, but it may not be useful for the other people. Therefore, if this particular idea or thing it has its utility, then it must be useful for someone else according to pragmatic philosophy. Then next one, importance of manpower. Man is a very powerful and dominating organism in the universe. By virtue of his power, he can change his environment and make it useful and conducive for his development and development for the society. What is man? That we are the human being and we have the power to change of our surrounding. And this power has made us useful because we can contribute for our own development and development of our society. That's why pragmatic philosophy has given importance of the manpower. The next principle is that emphasize on present. Pragmatic philosophy does not look into the domain of the past. It rather wants to solve present problems on the basis of present experiences. Because some experiences, some knowledge which was useful in the past may not be useful for for present situation, may not be useful to solve any kind of problems at present time. Therefore, pragmatic philosophy only focus on the present experiences. It doesn't give importance to the experiences of the previous generations. That is why it opposes old customs, traditions and taboos. It believes in the present realities of life and wants to make the people think and act in a realistic way, focusing on the present situation. It doesn't matter what happened in our past, it doesn't matter what was useful or what knowledge was applicable in the past scenario. Only this kind of philosophy has its emphasis on the present situation. This is the principles of pragmatic philosophy. Then principle of pluralism. What is the principle of pluralism? Everyone in the society tells the truth on the basis of his own way of experimentation. Thus there comes many truths, not one. If truths are many, everyone must be given full freedom to follow one's own path. Since the world is the process of reconstruction and development, the nature of reality also changes, and with the changes of time, all these things make society pluralistic. So, these are some of the principles through which we can easily go through the philosophy of pragmatism. And as a summary, what is pragmatism? If we say, then we have to say that number one, truth as practical. Pragmatism views truth as something that is not fixed on absolute, but rather as what works in practice. For an idea or belief to be true, it must prove itself useful or effective in addressing specific situations or solving problems. Ideas as tools. Next one. Ideas are seen as instruments or tools for navigating the world. The value of a concept lies in the capacity to produce desired outcomes and guide action. Focus on experience. Pragmatism emphasizes the role of human experience and interactions with the world. Knowledge arises from activity, engaging with and experimenting in one's environment. Then what we get from the discussion, that rejection and absolutism. Pragmatists are skeptical of fixed principles, universal truths, and metaphysical abstractions. Instead, they focus on change and adaptability and the contingent nature of reality. After that, community and inquiry. Inquiry is a communal and iterative process where individuals test ideas, share findings, and refine their understanding collectively over time. So, I have again mentioned this point to give a summary about the basic understanding of pragmatic philosophy. So, if anyone asks you what is pragmatic philosophy, then what will be your answer? First of all, pragmatism is an American philosophy because it was introduced by the American philosopher, and pragmatism mainly derived from the two Greek words, which is pragma and pragmatikos, and it means utility, practicability. Then other thing is that experimentation, and this pragmatic philosophy also called as experimentalism, because pragmatism believe, according while we are discussed about or while we see about the long history of pragmatism, then we can found that pragmatic ideals are what? Because the ideas, the perspectives, the everything is explained by the pragmatic philosophy on the basis of experiment, on the basis of experimental truth. Then one thing, one ideas, the values, everything has to be proved by the experimentation or by the activities. Then pragmatic philosophy will accept it as truth, as right, as wrong. So what is right, what is wrong, everything will be acceptable on the basis of experimentation in the pragmatic philosophy. Thus, pragmatism is a philosophical tradition which emphasizes the practical application of ideas and as well as their effects on human experiences as the central criteria for determining their truth or meaning of value. So, as in one word, pragmatism is that. So, after that, while we are discussing about pragmatism, the main principles of pragmatism philosophy, then we have to know about notable pragmatist thinkers. First of all, who was notable pragmatist thinkers? That we can take the name of Sir Sanders Peirce, which was considered the founder of pragmatism because he introduced the idea that the meaning of a concept is rooted in its practical effects. If anything in the world, whether it is things or it is idea, subjective or objective, whatever, if they have practical utility, practical effect, then pragmatism philosophy considered this idea or this thing, whatever, it is valid. So this is the main base of pragmatism, what also its founder Sir Sundar Pius has mentioned. Then another notable pragmatist, we can take the name of William James, which was popularized pragmatism by emphasizing the role of personal experience and the idea that beliefs are validated by their ability to address life's challenges. Because as a human being, we are the living creature of the universe. In our day-to life, in our every second, what happens? We face any kind of problems. So, according to philosophy of pragmatism, it has that emphasize that the role of personal experiences and idea which are helping us to any kind of problems, any kind of challenges that we are facing in life, then it is valid. That idea must help, or this idea will valid when only when it is helping us to address our life challenges. Then we can also take the name of John Dewey, which has focused on the application of pragmatism to education and social reform, emphasizing democracy, experimental inquiry, and the integration of theory with practice. So this is one of the most important point which was focused by John Dewey, because he has the focus on the application of pragmatism to education, application of pragmatism to the social reform, also emphasizing democracy, experimental inquiry, and integration of the theory with practice. Practical knowledge and theoretical knowledge, he tried to integrate. So it is, if you take the name as a pragmatic philosopher, John Dewey has a significant role while implementing this kind of philosophy in the field of education. Then I want to give some examples of pragmatism in action. First of all, science. Pragmatism supports the scientific method because it is neither influenced by the idealistic philosophy nor the naturalistic philosophy. Pragmatism had its own unique quality, and pragmatism supports the scientific method, where hypotheses are tested, revised, or discarded based on some experimental result. As I already mentioned that according to pragmatism, everything is true, everything is valid, or if there is experimental proof. Otherwise, everything will be discarded by pragmatic philosophers. So then another point I can take here, that ethics. Moral principles are evaluated based on their capacity to promote well-being and solve societal issues. So what is ethics according to or what is morality according to pragmatism? While all those moral principles, ethical values will be evaluated on the basis of their capacity to promote well-being and social issues, because we are living in the society, there may be different kind of social issues, personal social issues we may face in everyday life. Therefore, which principle will be morally valid, which principle will be ethically valid, this will be determined by pragmatism on the basis of that if those principles will able to promote well-being and able to solve any kind of social issues. So this is ethics. Education. Learning is seen as an active, experiential process where students engage with real-world problems rather than passively absorbing abstract knowledge. So, yeah, from all this discussion, from all the discussed principles, point, and everything, every opinion given by all those philosophers, we can say that pragmatism is not just a philosophical framework but also a practical approach to decision making, problem solving, adapting to change in the various aspects of life. In this regard, from this perspective, if we see that pragmatism is a very practical philosophical viewpoint, because everything is based on scientific principles. Even ethics, morality are also based on some proofs, some experimental proofs. So pragmatism is not just a philosophical framework, but it's a practical approach which is very much important to in our life, and pragmatic philosophy has some practical influence on our education system also. And about education system and pragmatic philosophy I'll discuss in our later part. Therefore, from this discussion I hope that you have able to develop a bit understanding about what is pragmatic philosophy. It is one of the Western philosophy, but it's very relatable to our present life. It is too much practical, and therefore it is very much, we can say that it is a very much scientific philosophical thought. So thank you for listening my lectures, and I hope you have able to make some better understanding about what is pragmatic philosophy after idealism and naturalism. And we'll meet again in our future discussion about philosophical pragmatic philosophical thought or philosophical contribution of pragmatism into the field of education, which is must as a learner of the education system. Thank you.